Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL. Don't panic. Just a very, very quick one this morning. I'm having me a cup of tea. We're on the move again today, so it's going to be a busy day. Just thought I'd pop this one out. A few of you that follow me will be going, what the hell team is this? It's Mrs. Panic's team. I spoke about it, didn't I? Mrs. Panic is going to run the spreadsheet next year. Mrs. Panic is going to have a team. Mrs. Panic is going to follow the rules that I have failed so badly at, the spreadsheet rules, which I speak about long and often and then don't actually do it. So to have a wee practice, she has entered a team. She's going to follow the rules as best can be followed, given that we are, in the last nine game weeks, and obviously the rules, the spreadsheet I'll run through in a second, can still be applied, but really needs to be applied from the beginning of the season to really work. It gives her a chance just to get familiar with the format, the site, the spreadsheet, etc. I'll probably just populate the spreadsheet, but I do not have access to her team. She has not given me the password, and that's absolutely what we need, because we know what I'm like. I won't be able to help myself. This is the team. I gave basic instructions. He said we ideally need to look for 4 points for a goalkeeper, 5 points from our defenders, 6 points average over the last 5 game weeks, 6 points average from our midfielders, and 7 points for our strikers. I found. So that's phase one. What I found interesting in this, and she put her team together and she went through the players that she wanted, and I reviewed it. There's a couple of problems in here, so this is kind of the first draft. What I found interesting in here, as she went through the players and then had to go for a bench, is that she ended up in a 4-5-1 formation just by bloody default. There's a number of interesting things here I actually found, but it just by default fell into a 4-5-1 formation. Why? Because there's so bloody few strikers actually hitting that 7-point average. The defence was easy. As you can see, any number of defenders, hitting the averages, between DEFCON or some that are obviously having good attacking returns. Where it was a struggle to find players with the right average. Looks like it was the midfield got close to the 6-point average, but wasn't actually there. It was actually struggling to find midfielders hitting that consistent sort of 6-point average. I mean, even Semenyo, who's been going, we consider might have been going great guns, is only on a 7-point average, and you've got someone like an Anderson on just 5.4 or on 5.4, not really that far behind. And in my head, I thought Semenyo must be up in the 9s, 10s, or 11s. And then you see it there in black and white, it's still only just that sort of 7-point average. So I found it really interesting. I think it's actually a bloody good team, in all honesty. Very, very good team. So we're going to sort of go with this initially. There's one tweak in there potentially needed, because, again, not having that full understanding, it's going to have just 10 players for blank 31. Not necessarily a problem. Obviously, we'll have the transfers, and obviously Caroline will have, Mrs. Panic, I should say, has all her chips. So it's not to be taken too seriously. This is for Caroline to have a Mrs. Panic to have a bit of a practice before next season, where we will actually, or she will run the team. I will not have the password. I will give some guidance, but I will have no way of actually changing the team whatsoever, and it is will strictly follow by the rules for the whole season. And I won't catch them all in this little diatribe, but save your chips, take no hits. Try and keep your players roll when you can, unless you can't get a full team out, or if you have a player that's blanked 5 in a row, bang, they're out, and get one in, obviously with the right fixtures going forward, etc. I'll run through that in more detail when we really do this for real next year. And the way we'll probably do it next year is Caroline will have obviously control of the team, follow the rules to the letter, because if there's one thing Caroline can do is manage a project. She is a project manager. So the project is stick to the rules. It's as simple as that. within that, we might make it a little bit of a community team, which I quite like the idea of. She suggested that. I think it's actually quite a nice idea because she isn't really that familiar with it. So yeah, the first draft will go out at the beginning of the season. Take suggestions from you guys, make the changes, and then I'll populate it all into the spreadsheet, to make sure it is following the rules, as I say, of what we're trying to actually do. So listen, waffle. I think it's a good team. That'll be quite. The other thing I found really fascinating with this is I gave her the instructions on the point averages, the things you need to try to achieve with this first draft. And we all know my magic number is 70. And what I found fascinating with this is when I populated it all into the spreadsheet, it came out purely, I promise you, purely coincidentally with an average of 70. Did me head in. But yeah, it literally came out at exactly 70 as an average over the last 5 game weeks. Now, will that be maintained going forward? Averages are averages. You'll see there in the you've got currently in this team a floor of 56 and the ceiling of 83. Now, when I do my predictions and things like that, I always take the average or the median of the team, 56 and 83 in this case, for the prediction, and leave out captaincy for that fudge factor of someone not playing, etc., just the fudge factor. So this team, if we don't make any changes to it, is predicted to hit 70 points for this coming game week. I can definitely see it. Kelleher, yeah, got great fixture. Got Pickford as the reserve. I mean, the thing here is obviously there's no Haaland. Haaland did not qualify. Haaland did not qualify under the rules. We should, look back. If João Pedro is the only one that's really showing that sort of level of consistency, admittedly there. Now the other thing I see there obviously as I look through this, we've got the João Pedro anomaly of 19, and that's something I want to sort of, because I am looking at making some modifications to the spreadsheet next year to account for DEFCON, and this running this spreadsheet like this under the rules might give me a chance to really sort of nail what those adjustments need to be to account for things like DEFCON. And I'm sort of working through a few ideas there to maybe make the spreadsheet a wee bit more accurate and relevant, given the rule changes we had this year. Additional chips being one of them, if that stays in place next year. Our lack of performing strikers, which I think is almost accounted for in here in a way in the team that she's put together. I'm just fascinated to see how it goes. It'll help me to make some adjustments for next year. I am convinced that if I followed my own bloody rules, it's a top 100k finish, just from basically being disciplined. What I'd be fascinated to see is really what it actually does. It's just really maintaining that discipline and structure across a whole season, which has been proven. I'll have spurts of it, and the team actually goes quite well when I do actually get myself disciplined. But we all know I'm just not disciplined. I am punty. I should name myself FPL punty. But next year when we do this properly, we'll review this on a weekly basis. I think even now, because Caroline's happy to go in and look at any suggestions, even to this team, because we've always got a little bit of time in our hand. If anyone's got any suggestions that they think would make this team better, that fits the model, so over to you, Mrs. Panic. And next year I think it will be quite a lot of fun, having Mr. Panic versus Mr. Panic, Mr. Panic versus Mr. Panic versus Mrs. Panic, and I think it'll actually create quite an interesting little weekly review in its own right. Get my more punty approach. I will try and be more disciplined next year, though. To be fair, I'm going to try and be a bit more disciplined. I've been all over the place this year. But playing against Mrs. Panic and the community, following my bloody rules and showing look at what you could have done, Des. Yeah, look at what you could have done. Anyway, I think it'll be a bit of fun. This is the team. Kelleher, yeah, grand. I'm not 100% myself convinced by the Timber pick. However, can't really argue with the double Arsenal defence in this run-in with some decent fixtures. O'Reilly, I generally like the O'Reilly pick, and he's obviously the yellow flag's removed now. He's definitely got big upside if he still continues to play in that midfield role. Yeah, Virgil, so the defence is a nice mixture, I think, of like Virgil and Gabriel, with the DEFCON, obviously, but also some decent goal threat versus, as I say, your more attacking type Timbers and O'Reilly. So I quite like that as a back four, I have to say. There's some big points potentially in there. Yes, Semenyo has been brought in despite the blank. I said you can't have him because he's blank. He says, no, I want him. I said, oh, bloody have him then. Semenyo's in there, and I think most of us do wish we did have Semenyo and didn't get rid of Semenyo after the City transfer. Those of us that did, a la me. And you can't argue with it, really. And the transfer is there anyways to do something in blank 31. Verts, yeah, fully, really, yeah. But I can get right behind that as a pick. So those last 5 game weeks, obviously for Verts, are the last 5 game weeks that he played before he was out with the injury. Now hopefully his game time's good, but I guess we'll see on that. As I say, this is an experiment. There's a few picks in there that might worry me slightly, but yeah, you're the community. You give us some guidance if you think any of these could go badly wrong. Anderson, I'm 100% behind. I mean, you just can't argue with it, can you? You really can't argue with it. 5.4 average. He is playing a more attacking role. I had him bloody benched myself, but you just can't argue with it. 4, 5, 5, 1 attacking return. 1 in 5, 12. Boom. I was going to try and convince her to go for Rodri. I did mention, I know I've got my Rodri fetish. But Rodri's on that, the last 5 on that sort of average as well. And I'm not going to be bringing in Rodri at this stage. I need to be playing for my own team, players with upside, just to see if I can have a crack at that top 100k. But as a consistent, someone like Anderson, and I do still believe that Rodri will be there if he remains injury free, and if he remains injury free, he'll be one of the first names in my team for next year. But Anderson, yeah, totally behind that as a pick. As am I for Rice, to be honest with you as well. Again, I put him in that similar vein, I think, to Anderson. I know he's more expensive, but in a time of inconsistency, Rice is back on it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bang, 5.2 average, and 1 attacking return in there, grand. And Rice does have a goal or 2 in his locker, so there is actually quite a high ceiling there for Rice. So I actually totally behind it as a pick, even though I've got Rice myself. I kind of wish I hadn't moved him out again. Bruno's Bruno, as blatantly obvious, but again, just that 7-point average. But it's solid. It's a lot of money. What we haven't got the players at the moment, the way we're getting, another Salah last year, etc. Getting the 9, 10, 11-point average. They're just not there. They're just not there. João Pedro. Now, currently, I don't like it, but the rules of the spreadsheet, again, this is where I need to see whether I do refine them for next year to make it more definitive. The general rules of the spreadsheet is to captain the player with the best fixture and the best average, or you perma-captain a player that's showing the best average so you don't point dodge. So if you're on João, I guess the question would be, looking at those 4, potentially 5 fixtures, we look at those 5 fixtures, that might be the first question. Is it a perma-cap? Because really, the rules of the spreadsheet, strictly speaking, is to perma-captain the best players showing the best fixtures and the best average. Would you perma-captain João Pedro for the next 5 fixtures? Or do you bounce around? Yeah, do João Pedro, Newcastle this week, Newcastle at home, yeah, great fixture. Who else would be good? Would you go with, this is just an example, Verts, if his numbers are looking good, Fulham at home in 32, etc. You know what I mean? Do you jump around, or do you say, right, that's the player showing the best form over 5 game weeks, good fixtures, perma-captain him so you don't point dodge? Kind of like the perma-captain myself. This isn't a strict rule, and I think it's maybe one I need to nail down. What do you think on that one? Dodge your captaincy around, or bang, perma captain 5-5. Yeah, that's worked great. Okay, who do we do the next perma captain on with the best fixtures going forward? So you don't point starch. I'm 50-50 on it. What do you think? I think the team looks good. Might just stick with, well, not me. I keep saying me. It's not me. It's not me. It's Caroline. She will actually get involved in the program as well over the coming weeks with this team. But as we're sort of rushing to get out the door and pack and get on the move, I thought we'd pop this one up quickly. That's Mrs. Panic's team. We'll get this up. Let us know what you think. I'll try and come back myself in a few days' time with my own team. We've had most of the cup matches. It's not formulated, it's not finalised my own thinking too much. We need to see the draw, because my big question for myself is as we build through these games is, do I roll this week? Probably. That really does make sense. But as we hit the double 33 and blank 34, where will I use my free hit? And I'd really sort of like it to, I was hoping there'd be some curveballs thrown us with a few shocks, etc. But at the moment, most of the games have really gone according to what you would expect. And it's what's that draw going to throw up, and who is likely to be doubling, blanking, and who will have fixtures in 34. At the moment, the only definite fixtures now for 34 are Fulham versus Villa, Sunderland versus Forest, and Wolves versus Spurs. So I've got maybe 2 or 3 players that have got fixtures in 34, and they're good fixtures, because I quite like the idea, to be honest with you, depending on how it plays out, of really optimising on that double with the free hit, and then just using some transfers to get a full 11 for blank 34, but still hopefully having some transfers. If we do roll a few more transfers, if we do have a double in 36, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I am really flying by the seat of my pants, and I want to try and get a top 100k finish at this stage, and about 630,000, something like that. We'll see how that all goes. Listen, I'll leave it at that. Just that quick one, just to go through Mrs. Panic's team. She's just having a practice, so we're not going to take it too seriously. It's just for her to get used to it, etc. And we sort of get a bit of a format going for next year going forward. But it will be fascinating to see how this team goes. 70 points is the prediction. Let's see what happens. We'll be back with this at the end of game week 30. But if you do have any suggestions, Caroline will be monitoring the comments, and she will get involved in the discussion. And if you've got any really good suggestions that she likes, she will implement them. Take care, have fun, play your own game. Don't panic. I'll see you lot soon. Bye for now.